Good morning for the second edition of Mic'd Up here on Pittsburgh Sports Now. I'm your host, Mike Vikovcan. Tomorrow we might have a little bit of a change. We'll tell you about that tomorrow, but we appreciate you tuning in, and we definitely want to thank our sponsor, my good friend Doug Martin with Martin Lawn Services. If you have anything you need done, summer's coming up, or spring and then summer. If you have anything you need done outside, around your house, your lawn, your garden, especially decks, patio. It was good news yesterday right after the show. I had somebody mention to me, ask me, does Doug do decks? And I said, yes, he does, and he was going to give Doug a call. So we hope you do the same thing. His number, 412-849-5894, or as you can see, martinlawnservices.com. Headlines from yesterday on Pittsburgh Sports Now. I think we're going to be seeing a lot of this. Pitt and Jeff Capel, they need to fill in scholarships. And they offered a center from North Carolina. That's one of their needs, 6'10 center, Brandon White from North Carolina. The only thing is he's not for until 2022. We talked to his high school coach. He's not one of these kids that are able to reclassify, so he will be 2022. But potential fit, good ACC territory, and definitely a need for Pitt in the center there. And just expect, as Pitt season appears to be winding down here very soon, for a lot more Pitt recruiting news in terms of basketball, and Pitt being interested in transfers and stuff like that to be happening. The other news, big news, and Dan Kongursky and the team over at Pittsburgh Hockey Now will have this all day. Governor Tom Wolf increased the capacity for fans in sports venues for the time being. Assuming COVID, the numbers stay down. That means for the first time this season tonight, the Penguins will be having a limited amount of fans in PPG Arena, and it should be a scene, no doubt about it. I believe there's only going to be 2,000 plus fans there, but I bet those guys will be loud into it. Plus, they take on the Philadelphia Flyers, so that's good news. And it's for baseball, it's going to be up to 7,000. And by the time Pitt football season comes around, hopefully those numbers are a lot more in September. And the other thing is, keep an eye on for this. I'm going to have a story later today with a recruit, and for the third time I've heard Pitt is trying to have an official visit day in June. Of course, nobody's able to make visits yet, but I think they're making all sort of preparations that if things open up here, they want to have kids on for the second and third week of June. And they are not getting any commitments now, but the trend over the last two seasons has been for Pat Narduzzi to sort of, I think, arrange is probably the best way for a bunch of kids that he knows plans on committing, on having a big splash in June. So I know that's a long ways away, but they're going to be hosting kids in June, and we'll see as far as official visits in June go. But I'll have a story on that today, and look for a lot more Pitt football recruiting news as the week goes on. As we talked about at the beginning, this isn't just going to be about Pitt, Duquesne in high school sports. It's going to be about Steelers, Pirates, whatever. And one of the things we're going to talk about today, I'm going to talk a little Steelers today. And the big news yesterday in the NFL was J.J. Watt signing a 2-year, $31 million deal, $23 million guaranteed. I think that's crazy. I think it's ridiculous. His numbers show. I'm not saying J.J. Watt isn't he's a good player. He's not a great player anymore. I don't think he's a difference maker anymore at a program for a team. Those days are behind him. The talk that he could possibly come join TJ in Pittsburgh, that was fan talk. With any team with a cap situation, with a serious cap situation, isn't looking at J.J. Watt. Arizona, Miami, teams that have money, they can do that. And they spent $31 million, $23 million guaranteed. But I think that's crazy. If you look at his numbers, 3 of his last 5 years, he's played 8 games or less. And also in his last 5 years, 4 of those 5 years, he's had single-digit sack numbers of 5 or less. You don't pay a guy like that type of money. The Steelers shouldn't, unless he wanted to come here for bargain basement, which a guy like him isn't going to do. I think Arizona's going to end up regretting that deal. They've done this in the past with getting older guys. If you remember back, Emmitt Smith. They got Alan Faneca toward the end of his career. J.J. Watt isn't going to make any sort of impact, although he'll be paired with Chandler Jones out there, and he won't have the pressure of being the only guy on the defensive line, like for the most part he was in Houston for many years. That's going to be a nothing signing for them, and luckily for them it's only 2 years, but they did guarantee $23 million. The Steelers' biggest issue, of course, is Ben Roethlisberger. And the thing that I just haven't, I don't really understand this, mostly a lot from the media, but a lot of the fans too, is the hate toward bringing him back. I just really don't get it. The biggest reason is as far as the options go, and why they have no options at quarterback right now. And when you're stuck with a guy, and I hate to use that word stuck, but either way, they have to pay him at least $21 million. So when you're going to do that, what would the purpose be of cutting him or not letting him be here next year when you have to pay the guy $21 million? It's not as though if you cut him, their cap is cleared up. One way or the other, they have to pay him. And I'm sorry, don't give me the Mason Rudolphs or Ryan Fitzpatrick's or guy. Ben Roethlisberger is better than that. A Ben Roethlisberger with a good offensive line or a decent offensive line and in some semblance of a running game can still win games in the NFL. Now, are they a Super Bowl contender? No. But how many teams really are? And I would let the guy have one more year, do his thing, but he's not coming back after that. That we could be clear on that. But I just don't understand what other options do you have out there? The only option that I would go for, now if you're going to do this, I would be okay with this, is getting Sam Darnold from the Jets. If they find a way that you could trade for him without giving up too many draft picks, I think he's a guy that is just obviously he's with a terrible organization, terrible team, and his true talent hasn't been able to be displayed yet because of what's been around him. Jets are probably going to draft a quarterback, Zach Wilson, or somebody with the second pick, Justin Fields, one of those two guys. If they do that, then they're going to be looking to trade Darnold. If I'm the Steelers, I'm trying to get him. He could be your quarterback for the future. Now, if you're going to do that, then I would consider, whatever, cutting Ben or whatever. If he wants to come back in competition with Darnold for the starting job. But other than that, there are no options out there for the Steelers, and Ben Roethlisberger should return. Two guys that I think maybe shouldn't return, if they still need to get their salary cap situation under control. And two guys that I would consider parting ways with just to help out a little bit, and just because they're getting older and there's injuries and they make a lot of money, and this team is not going to compete next season, is Joe Hayden and Stephon Tuitt. I know Tuitt's the big name there. They recently signed him a couple years ago. Last year, for the first time, he was able to actually play a full season without getting hurt, which hasn't been the case the last few years. But those are two guys that I think it would be a good situation to possibly move on for them and get some money back with the cap. Two other things here with the Steelers, real quick, is I saw Jeremy Fowler reported yesterday that the Steelers might come in late and try to bring back Juju. Let him see what offers he gets, and then they sweep in late with an offer and try to bring him back. I think that would be a total mistake. I think the Steelers should part ways with, just let him move on. And it's not because, well, it is a little bit because of the circus that comes with him. I think the Steelers need to rid themselves of guys like that. But I just don't think they need Juju Smith-Schuster for what he is going to command, and considering their salary cap situation. They have guys on the team, James Washington, Deontay Johnson, Chase Claypool, and they've shown the ability over the years with Colbert and his scouting staff to be able to bring in good wide receivers. I just don't think they're in a position with how tight their money is to be bringing him back just to have a fourth receiver. I think they could get receivers, and I just think that money could be spent better elsewhere. They got to find a way to sign T.J. Watt. I'm sure they have other priorities that they are going to have to address. I just think bringing back Schuster, I don't think it's a good deal. I don't think it would be a good deal, and but we will see what happens. I was a little surprised when I read that tweet from Jeremy yesterday, but we'll see what happens. But that's a move that I wouldn't endorse. And the last thing is things that I think they should do. Mock drafts are out right now. Our Nick from Steelers Now is every day. If you're not following him, you need to. He's putting out mock drafts. Everyone is. I saw a draft yesterday that had the Steelers taking a wide receiver in the first round from Florida. I think the Steelers go in two ways. Offensive line, they have to in one of the first two picks, either tackle or center, preferably maybe center with the second pick. And I don't understand why people are downplaying the drafting a running back. I know there's a thing of you can't pick running backs too high. You can get running backs anywhere. The Steelers haven't shown the ability. They have a roster full. If you want to tell me what their biggest problem was last season, if you want to ask me what their biggest problem was last season, I think the running backs were just awful, and I think they killed the team. They weren't able to extend drives. Whether or not, I don't know if Fiechner, if he was pass happy or not, but they showed no commitment to running the football. And I think part of that, and I think it's sort of a parallel situation with the Pittsburgh Steelers, or the Pitt Panthers. I don't think they had guys to do it. And Pitt didn't have it. And James Conner, nice guy, great story, like James Conner, the person. He's just not an everyday running back. And the rest of the guys on the team, Benny Snell, they don't have an every down pounder at running back. They don't have a feature running back, and they need to get one. And if they can get one in the draft here, I think it just helps out the whole offense. It makes the offensive line better. It makes Ben Roethlisberger better. It makes the offense better, which in turn makes the team better. So I wouldn't reach, but if they have a couple guys, obviously the guy from Alabama, guy from Clemson, if they're there and they have those guys rated as a first-round material, I'd have no hesitation with picking them. They need that to make this offense better and for the future. Not even for 2021. Forget about that. They need a running back for the future so that their quarterback isn't throwing the ball 50 times a game, 40, 50 times a game. That's not a recipe to win. So That's it for the second edition of Mic'd Up here on Pittsburgh Sports Now. As I mentioned, tomorrow we're going to have a little bit of a change up. We'll let you know about that later tonight. But once again, Pittsburgh Sports Now appreciates the services of Martin Lawn Services. You see the number 412-849-5894. Anything you need done outside, grass done at your business, whatever, give Doug and his team a call. And please mention you heard about it with Mic'd Up and Pittsburgh Sports Now. Until tomorrow morning, everyone, I'm Mike Vikovcan. Have a great day.